Our speaker today is Kim Underhill, president of SBPWA, which is the original club in BPW Singapore. Kim has 25 years of experience in international business and management, with degrees in business administration and marketing, HR, and industrial and organizational psychology. So kind of a powerhouse. She's a keynote speaker, trainer, coach, and the author of Success Inside Out, Challenge or Choice. She's also a strong advocate for women through her own Winning in Heels diversity and inclusion program, like that title. In September, Kim presented to us originally on her own leadership model that she calls Holistic Leadership, which is the name of today's webinar. And Dr. Yasmin, on the spot, asked her to return and tell us more. I think any amount of time would not be enough time to hear about this from you, Kim. So we thank you, and we're eager to hear your follow-up presentation today. And now the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Anne and Yasmin, for having me back. It's really a privilege to be able to share the second half of the leadership programs that I actually call New Age Leadership, which is the holistic approach to succeed in self, team, and business. During the part one of this session, I'm not sure how many of you attended it. Maybe I just do a very, very, very quick recap. Oh, let me just open up this. Yeah, just a very, very quick recap. We basically touch on three areas. When we talk about leadership, we talk about a holistic leadership looking from self-leadership, team leadership, and business leadership. At which point we touch on self-coaching. As a leader, it is very important for us to be able to self-coach, because often than not, we think about how do we lead others, how do we coach others. But the first thing that we need to look at is self-coaching. And then we went on to talk about how do we develop, establish the ideal and effective squad, the team basically. And lastly, we covered on the R2R, basically talking about the roadmap of roadmap to results. So just a very quick one. If anybody was at part one, you will remember that we touched on the simple rules of success. So these are some of the areas that we talk about, as an individual, as a leader, how must we prepare ourselves mentally and psychologically, telling ourselves that we need to be able to self-coach through these very simple rules before we jump into anything else that we wanted to do. So that was the one area we talk about. The next thing we talk about is squad team effectiveness. I shared about how we're going to select, qualify, unify, adjust, and of course always deliver as one team. The key message here is also things like unconscious bias that we need to be very careful about. Selecting the best people doesn't mean that it will give you the best team. And the last thing that we shared the last time was this simple 6 steps. I call it R2R, which basically allows any individuals or leader to be able to take these simple steps to guide you through any projects or anything that you would like to do. Especially talking about roadmap, what is it that you want to do? Why do you want to do it? How are you going to make it happen? Where can you see the challenges? Who is going to support you? And finally, what is the timeline of to reach your result? So in anything that we do as a leader, it is very important for us when we look at a business project to be able to use these simple 6 steps to help guide you, understand what needs to be done before you actually embark on any projects. So that being said, that was last session. So now, instead of me going through the other 3 modules, because we don't really have that much time, the other 3 modules is basically SPOT model, talks about interpersonal skill. VAMP up is about communication and presentation. And then lastly, fast sales, obviously, is all about commercial and sales. I've decided that I'm going to touch on change instead. So this is another program that I developed for leaders called Be the Change Before Change Changes You. So, as the title said, often than not, nobody likes to be told to change. We hate it when somebody says, you need to change, you need to do something else. Then the question I go back to you is, how often do you lead change? right? As a leader, that's going to happen very, very often. But how are you going to do that? So today, for the next half an hour or so, we're going to talk about this. Let's look at the evolutions of technology. How many of us here are still using pen and paper? I do. Even though technology is great, I still have a notepad. I try to use digital. Somehow I just can't get into it. I have all kinds of Apple stuff, but nothing beats a notebook. I still do that. But that doesn't mean that we are not changing, right? Just because we're not comfortable in technology, but the big thing is about, do we know about it, right? Are we aware of it? We don't have to be using it, but we need to be aware of what is evolving around us. The next thing, I'm not sure how many of you have seen these clips, right? It's a very, very common picture that I've seen many people share. Who wants change? Everybody wants change. We're all excited about change. We can even think about what we need to change. But then when it comes to who wants to lead change, all of a sudden you see all the hands disappear, right? If you run the same practice in your organization, whether it's in an association, profit or non-profit, do exactly the same exercise, and you will know that this exists. Most people like change, want to see change in organizations, but not many, or only a few are willing to step in to make the difference, to advocate for change, to advocate for something that they truly believe in. So when we look at this, what do you think we're looking at here? Right? On one area, we're talking about the motivations and performance. The other side, we're talking about the timeline. This is basically simply looking at the reality of change, right? Just in your own mind, if I'm in a workshop right now, I will get the people to think about one thing that happens to them in the last 12 months that kind of like forced them to change. And where are they today? Are they still feeling denial, or has the reality sink in? Because when reality sinks in, they start to feel angry. Why is this change happening to me? Why do I have to make this change? Or as a leader, often we talk about hierarchy, right? A lot of corporate decision may not work with you and your region. But then that doesn't mean that it's not going to happen, right? As you have to take it on and figure out a way. Getting angry, resisting the change is not going to help. So the question is, at what point do we go to point number 4 and start to let go, or even start to turn around and face reality and say that, okay, whether I like it or not, change is going to happen. Now the question is, what am I going to do to make a difference? I mean, we look at all our associations. Every few years, we have a new president. Every few years, we'll have new exco. There's a lot of changes, and we're trying to put a lot of different people, different women, different characteristics together to try to make an association work, right? On one point we did touch about last session is about, how do you lead people that are so different? How do you lead people who doesn't want to change, right? So some of the key point I'm going to share about later is about how do we go through this process to make it a lot easier when we have to deal with change. So if you look at this, when we talk about change, this is another picture that we talk about change, right? At one point, we're struggling with it. And then, of course, we accept. We make the best effort, and then we probably champion it. When you look at this picture, I call it's a choice or a challenge. The question lies in whether, as a leader, where do you want to be? At which point you are in which station? Are you still a leader that struggles to deal with change? Or have you accepted? And are you putting a plan together to make an effort to basically see it through and truly understand what you want to see at the end of the tunnel? So a lot of what we do in change is choice versus challenge. If we deal with it as choice, then we will have a very clear path. But then if you see it as a challenge, you will end up giving yourself a lot of excuses why things cannot happen, be it with someone or be it over a project. So let me touch on what we're going to talk about today. So today we have 5 C's. So under New Age leadership, we have this extra module that we call Be the Change. And it is basically 5 disruptive ways to positive leadership change, right? Normally, if I'm in a workshop right now, I will have people come up with all the C's. What do you think possibly these 5 C's represents? And funnily enough, out of probably the last 10 sessions I've done on this, 80% of the people could not guess what these 5 C's are to change. Everybody comes up with something. So today I'm going to give you a few. Let's talk about the first one. What I would have asked my audience is, what are you seeing here? Right? So everybody will come up with something. It's a snail, right? But what is the snail doing? The very, very first C I want to talk about is comfortable. As a leader, when we get to a certain position, when we get to a certain level, right, we start to become very comfortable, right? The story behind this snail is, one day, this snail was happily crawling along a grass patch. Then he saw a bottle and the sky started to turn really dark. He said, okay, I'm going to go crawl myself in there and stay there for a little while. And it so happened it's an alcoholic bottle with a lot of alcohol in it. So the snail stayed in there, finished whatever that's in there. Even when the sun came out, it did not come back out. It probably took him a couple of days later. But what happened there? It got comfortable. But when he tries to get out, it could not get out. Guess what? It got fat and happy. It got stuck. It gotten a little bit bigger than when it went in. So there's also the same story as us as a leader. If we continue to stay too comfortable where we are, chances are in time to come, you do not want to change. You will feel very uncomfortable to try to get out. And another reason why we are comfortable where we are, we have a tendency to procrastinate. We became lazy because we fear the unknown. If I'm where I am, I'm very comfortable where I am. Why should I change? As they say, if it ain't broken, why change? But the truth is that we have to grow. As leader, I said that before, this is us as leader, and this is where our people are. If the leaders stay stuck in this level, your people are not going to grow. So you have to continuously grow so that your people can grow. There are some ancient Chinese Kung Fu master always say, if I bring in a new guy to train, I'm only going to teach him 99 steps of my 100 steps. Can you imagine the number 99 kid that come and join trying to learn Kung Fu? Basically, they don't learn anything. So the important thing is, as a leader, we have to stay uncomfortable in order for us to change, in order for us to make a difference. For us to grow, we need to learn. We need to learn new things. We need to do things that are different from the norm. If we stay comfortable, we start to procrastinate, and that is not good. So the one thing about being a leader is you have to focus on learning. The continuous growth is very important. When we are comfortable, we think that we are where we are, we're done, everything is going to go. The sad thing is that if you stay comfortable, other people is going to grow. As they grow, you start to move backward even though you did not move. So start reminding yourself, what is it that you can do to feel uncomfortable in your very comfortable life, to make a difference, for you to be a better you, for you to grow, right? Learning, of course, is always one thing. Having a growth mindset, having a growth action, it's all about taking action. It's all about making that move. Do not stay comfortable for too long. So whether you're leaders, whether you're managers or you're to-be managers, that is something that you want to think about. Ask yourself, on the level of comfort, where are you now? 0, 1, very uncomfortable. 10, very comfortable. If you're anywhere above 5, then you need to start thinking. You need to start making plans to get yourself uncomfortable again so that you can explore and do new things. How are you going to lead your people? How are you going to share what you have? How are you going to grow so that your people can grow with you in order to be able to grow your business, right? So this is point one for the 5 C's. Comfortable. Stay as uncomfortable as you can in order for you to be able to make the necessary change. Next, we have a little turtle. So what do you think this is, right? If you are my audience that I can get a lot of reaction from, I would ask you, what do you see? Many people say very slow, very steady. And then the actions that a turtle or tortoise, whenever they do is whenever they come across something new, they have a tendency to shrink, to hide back in. There are two ways to look at it. I can always say they are hiding, or I can always say that they are being very, very curious. Whenever something happens, they will stick their neck out, right? So as leader, how curious are you? Are you always exploring and trying to see beyond your comfort zone, beyond what you're doing? So when I talk about curiosity, in your life, all of us, many of us are very comfortable, very blessed with a job, with things are going well. So we stay comfortable and we stop being curious, right? Being curious means awareness. How aware are you as a leader of the people around you, of the environment around you? Or are you just doing what needs to be done to achieve the goal that was given you, the target? In offices where you have a lot of cubicle, right? Cubicle that is about this high, and when you hear something new, you stick your head out. Curiosity, you want to know what is going on. And that is something that we need to be. It's not about being nosy, it's about being curious. Because at any time, at all time, we need to be very comfortable about being curious about what is going on around us. Because if you do not know what is going on around you, you will not be able to prepare for it. So self-awareness, being aware of your surrounding, being aware of the people around you. I'll give you an example. I spoke to one executive director who was leading a nonprofit organization. She came to me and said, hey, I recently spoke to this particular staff, and to my surprise, she is very keen in growing in the organization, in taking on bigger role, better job. And I asked her, why is she surprised? Her answer was, oh, I always thought that she's comfortable where she is. I have no clue that she wanted to do more. So again, this is partially a leadership fault if you do not know what your people want, where your people want to go, because it is your job as a leader to lead them. As I said before, leadership is no longer about us. It's no longer about me, I, or myself. It's about how do I lead my people to be able to achieve the common goal that we want to achieve. So without understanding where your people wants to go, so a lot of things will be misread, miscommunications will happen. So, and when you plan for your organization to go forward, you obviously will not be able or have the knowledge to know how your people will fit into your new organization or fit into your growth strategy. So being aware is very important. So be curious, spend the time with the people, regardless of what level. As leader, often than not, people only talk to the staff, their employees who are one level down or maybe two maximum. Try to get as far down as possible to understand the environment of your work, your colleagues, right? So awareness is very important. Second thing about being curious is being involved. How involved are you? Do you raise your hand whenever there's a new project coming up? Whenever there's new strategy that is being introduced, do you step in? Do you step in or do you step out to get involved? Once somebody asked me, I've worked very hard, but somehow I can't seem to be able to get a seat at the table. What do I need to do? I'm already a head of department. I said, the question is, do you do anything beyond what you are hired to do? right? Because if you stay within your department, no matter how well or how good you do, you are basically paid to do that. You shouldn't be doing anything less, right? So if you want to be noticed beyond the job that you do, you need to get yourself involved, right? Raise your hand and get involved in project that is outside your comfort zone, project that is not what you do day in, day out. So that's very important, right? To have visibility. You need to be able to step in. So again, this is tie in directly with your branding as well, which we'll talk about later. But involvement is, are you proactively getting yourself involved, or are you waiting for things to happen? But if you are curious enough, you will know roughly what are the key new project that is happening and how you or members of your team will be able to support that, to be involved, so that you are part of the new project or new event that is happening. Again, we're not talking about being nosy, we're talking about being curious, curiosity. And third point to being curious is you need to reach out. We are all in an association of, well, all of us are in association from different country. Many of us, our number one reason why we are part of this association is networking. We want to expand, right? But many people join association, they sit back and wait for things to happen. They will wait and see, okay, let's see what this association is going to come up with. You know, if Yasmin and Anne did not decide to set up this webinar, this whole series, many of them will just simply wait for things to happen. Oh, when are we going to have the next gathering? When are we going to have the next networking? As a member of an association, I always encourage, you need to step up. You need to be proactive, to reach out to people, right? Don't wait for things to happen. Need to be as curious as you can, reach out to someone. If you know someone that inspire you, someone that you aspire to become, take the courage, right? Be curious, approach this person and talk to them. Trust me, when you find somebody, when you see somebody that you're inspired by, when you tell them that you aspire to be them, they will definitely be open to share with the things that they know, the success that they have, the journey. So the question lies in, are you proactive or are you reactive? So being curious is about being proactive. Proactive to know what is going on, proactive to step up and be involved, proactive to reach out to what you see that can be of benefits to you and your team, can help you grow, help your team grow. So point number 2 is curious, right? Now we're going to go to point number 3. When we see a bunch of ants, what do we think of, right? Some people say they are very busy. Some people say that they are very orderly. What I have here, I use ant because they are always very, very connected. Have you seen when you go through anywhere on the ground, you see a line of ants crawling, right? All you have to do is cut their path, just rub on the table, and they got lost. Because why? You just disconnected their route. So ant is a very good example of being connected. So as leader, how well are you in connecting with all the stakeholders around you? Be it the bosses, your peers, the people that reports to you, the external, the third party. How well are you connected? Are you curious about how to get connected with everybody in the organization? Or you are only connected to people you think can help you, people that are just within reach? Most of us, when we are comfortable where we are only willing to connect with the people that is within our reach, right? Chances are we are not bothered about going anywhere further. But to be a successful leader, you need to go beyond, and you need to be able to help people connect, help people collaborate, Are you one of those who wait for somebody to put one and one together for you? Or are you someone who link people up? Leadership, part of leadership is about how can you build collaborations among your stakeholder, even by just putting your team together. How do you connect them? You need to be a very strong pillar to be able to do that. That's one thing. We talk about networking, right? How connected are you, whether it's within your organization, outside your organization, or in the industry? The importance of you being in the industry is very important. I'm not sure what all your backgrounds, your work backgrounds are, but whatever that you are doing, you ask yourself, what is your branding in that particular industry? Do people automatically think about you when they think about looking for someone in that industry? Because if you are connected enough, there will be enough people to know about you because your brand stands out. And hence the importance of having connection with all your stakeholder, very important. Ask yourself, think about what are you doing? What have you done, especially during this pandemic time? What have you done in the last 1 month to be able to build your branding, to be connected to people you are normally not connected to? What kind of action have you taken? Have you stepped up? Because if you think about it, when before the pandemic, we can easily meet up with anybody and everybody we want to. But because of the pandemic, we are pretty much all shut down. Everybody is doing Zoom. We're seeing everybody via virtual. So, but then is it an advantage? I think it is. Because now you don't have to find time to meet someone somewhere, right? You can just pick a time to be able to connect with someone over Zoom. So ask yourself, think of 3 names. Think of 3 people that you have been thinking about connecting in the last month, but somehow you have not gotten to do it. If you have that list on your hand, time to start taking action, to look at connecting. Because as a leader, not only do you need to connect to your bosses because of updates that you have to give, you have to stay connected with the people around you. Hence the reason why a lot of organizations have town hall, right? Having town hall is about sharing with the team. What is your big picture? What is our big picture? What is our strategy going forward? And this town hall should not only be done once a year in the beginning of the year when you're sharing everybody and then you just disappear and then you come back again, have another town hall towards the end of the year to share with how the closing are going. In any organization, as a leader, as long as you're leading a team, even one person, you have to be constantly connected with your people by sharing the path that you are taking the company. Because this is to help your people have clarity and transparency on exactly where we are going. How are we connected? How can your people work very closely with each other and with their peers and with you in order to be able to take that path, the strategic path together? So always make sure you stay connected. There's one example. Salespeople in particular, anybody that is in commercial, leading commercial, often than not, we may have seen 10 customers. We close 3. We dump the 7 aside. We don't repeat. We don't reconnect again. Ask yourself, is that a missed opportunity or is it just because the timing was wrong? So if you reconnect with these people again, chances are out of the 7, you might be able to close at least 2 more. Reason being, any customer, including all of us, we appreciate people follow up with us, even though we may not buy the first time. Staying connected, provide visibility, telling me that you care. So if you care, you stay connected. And that's the only way I'll be able to continue to keep that relationship with someone. So that connection is one thing that we need to work on, and we need to work on it consciously and intentionally. Like everything else, we need to be able to plan out what we want to do. All right. So that's 3. And then we go to number 4. Oh, right. Connection is really about this, right? A book that I've read, it's not who you know, it's who you know, right? We talk about connection. Often, historically, we always say, oh, it's what you know and who you know. The truth is, in this time and day, it's no longer that. It's who knows you. So if you don't stay visible, you don't stay connected, people will forget about you. Out of sight, out of mind. Basically, that's what it is. Okay. Next one. This is a little Joey trying to figure out what is it that I'm thinking. When I run this live workshop, it's a lot of fun because with this animal, I'll get everybody to guess what this is all about. And what is this potential? What C could this potentially be? Right? This has to do with this cute little Joey here. So because we can't do the exercise, I'm going to give it to you. Talking about conscious, especially in decision making. Leaders or even anybody, that we make decisions day in, day out. We are always making decisions. The question is, are we conscious about the way we make decisions? Do we overthink the decision that we have to make? Or sometimes we don't even think about it. We just went on, yeah, let's go. This is very commonly said, right? Are you doing the right thing or are you doing things right? Which way are you doing it? As leader, do you just do it because your bosses tell you to, and then you just pass it on to your team? Or do you think through it? Is this a right thing to do? Is this a right thing to do for your people, right? So being conscious is about all the actions that we do. Right, wrong. You have to be, I always say, when you talk about conscious, talk about decision making, a lot of it is tied into your integrity. How you lead with integrity and how you lead without integrity make a huge difference. And it actually change the culture of your organization and your team. The other thing about being conscious about conscious decision is that don't change just because somebody else says so, right? We talk about change. Yes, there are times when we do not have total control when it comes to what is changing around us, which is forcing us to change. But there are many, many times we have the capability to step up, to make the change that we want to, rather than just simply or blindly taking somebody else's lead. So be conscious about that when you make a decision next. The third point is easier said than done. Change on your own terms, right? So if you're working in a multinational organization, there will be time where you don't have a choice, right? You don't have a choice. But when that happens, do you deal with it as a challenge, or tell yourself, okay, I can make it into a choice? In other words, I can take the change that needs to happen, and I will change it according to the way I want it. I'll take my steps. I'll take my process. The top management might want you to make change within a week to get things happen. But in your own right, in your own understanding, being conscious about how change will happen, how it's going to evolve, the people, how are they going to react, you can come up with your own plan. You can come up with your own slight change and customized change while you still deliver what is needed, but customize it to the team, to you and your team's ability to be able to deliver and accept the change the way you want it. So when you talk about change, yes, unless it's something that's very, very, there will be time when we have no say what the change needs to be. So we just have to work around it. Instead of facing it as a challenge, face it as a choice. When we face it as a choice and be conscious about it, our decision-making process will be a lot easier, right? So now I'm coming to the last C, this one, right? It's another funny animal, little cute, I think a leopard cub. I think it's a cub, right? So what is this? most people could not guess what this little thing is doing, right? Talking about, could be confused, could be, could be anything. But what I used was the word cup, C-A-R-P, cupping, right? Cupping, not allowed. So what does cupping mean? Cupping means you are not allowed to complain and do nothing about it, right? When we, even though you're a leader, or we're talking with our peers, very often we find people very comfortably complaining about things that is happening in the organization or in the association. Often than not, I always tell people, if you have to complain about something that you're not happy about, my next question is, what are you doing about it? Like, complaining is not going to go anywhere. The C about, how are we going to manage change? You saw change coming, but all you do is just, yep. You just keep complaining about it at the water cooler corner during lunch or anytime, when you're with someone, you continue to do that. You see that at all level in organization, at senior level, mid-level, low level, you see that all the time. The question I always turn around, do you have control over this problem? Number one thing, every time we come to a crossroad, every time we come to face a challenge, if we seize it, ask yourself one simple question. Do you have control over these issues? If you have, what are you doing about it? If you don't have, learn to let it go. Because at times, we have to face reality of change. Not everything you can handle, not everything you can make a difference. So it's understanding what is important, right? We all know change is constant. It happens all day long, right? From very simple things to something very, very big. Change is constant. And since we all live in a VUCA world, now many of you should know what VUCA world is. If you're not, this is what it means. We are living in fact, it's more so this year, in year 2020, than any other time, right? The world is so volatile, uncertainty, we're so complex, ambiguity. This is exactly what everybody is facing. The people with a job, they're worried that they'll lose their job. The people who doesn't have a job, the people who do not have a job are worrying about not being able to get a job. The question is that, what are we doing about it? If you think about people who have a job, worrying about losing a job, I always tell them, so what are you doing to make a difference, to make yourself valuable to the organization, that there is no way they can let you go even during this time? How unique are you? What is the difference, right? A company with 200 employees, if you constantly stay under the radar and not being curious, not being involved, people will not see you too. So think about it from the other way around. And for people who have lost their job, who are trying to find to replace that job for 6 months or more, I ask them one simple question. What else can you do? Stop running against that solid wall that you know is going to hurt and it's not going to make any difference. Learn to change. Learn to look at things differently. What can I do during the interim? What can I do to make a difference? Because the world is going to keep changing. If you're going to stay stagnant, then you will be left behind. And the last thing about that is that in order for us not to be able to complain about the change that's happening around us, how prepared are we? What are you doing? Sitting here this evening, if you ask yourself, am I prepared for change? We don't know. Often we do not know what change is coming. But the question is, if we are not so blessed like many people, our job has to change. Our career path have to change. The way we lead have to change. Are you prepared? It all boils down to going back to, are you staying comfortable, right? You need to be uncomfortable. You need to be prepared so that you can be ready when the time comes. You need to be curious what is going on. And to be curious, it will also help you to be prepared for what's coming, right? So a very simple 5 C's for any leaders to think about how we deal with change. If you look at these 5 C's, it will help you think about leadership change positively, right? We talk about we need to stay uncomfortable, don't be fat and happy. We need to be curious, right? Don't stay under the radar, because you stay under the radar, nobody sees you, nothing is going to happen. And the first person to get rid is you, because they don't see you, you're not important. The third C was connected, right? How connected are you? And the fourth C was be conscious about the way you make decisions, the way you lead. And last but not least, it's about cupping, no complaining. We should not complain, because complaint is a choice, really. It's not a challenge. We decide whether we want to deal with the situations from a complaint perspective or from simply a choice that we are making. So that when it is a choice, we will make the right decision and take the right actions to make a difference. So this pretty much covers the 5 C's. I want you guys to do a very simple exercise, or you just take the note down. This is normally what I do at the end of class with the people. Look at this page, right? Ask yourself, pick one change that happens to you recently, right? Just think about that. And then if you run through this list, what is the change that's happening? Why did it happen? And run through how, where were the roadblocks? Where were the challenges? But then on the right side, this is where I want you to look at. Whatever change that came to you, are you in control over that change? Do you have some kind of control, or you have absolutely no control? If whichever box you put in, you should also put in an action. If you are in control, that means you need to do something about it. If you have some control, what do you need to do to gain a little bit more control so that you have a little bit more say to make a difference about the change? But if you come to the last one, as I said earlier on, there will be time where you're in a position where you have absolutely no control in trying to make a difference in that change, but just to follow. What do you need to do? Are you comfortable enough to say, it's okay, I can let that go? Because there'll be many other battles and challenges that I can take on. So it's like choosing your battle, right? Some people have a tendency to want to fight every battle, and it's very, very tiring and taxing. And it's not healthy as a leader, because your people will be watching you. As a leader, you have to make the decision on what you have control, what you don't have, what you can fix, and what you need to let go and let somebody else fix the problem. So that is how we want. I mean, this is my simple half an hour chat about how can you be the change, right? Because if you are not the change, chances are the other people is going to make you change. Hence the title, Be the Change Before Change Changes You. So if you are truly believing in the change that is coming, take the proactive step up and be the one that is leading change rather than the one that is following change. Because when you follow change, these are some of the headaches that you will have. But if you are leading change, it's a different story altogether. But then when you are leading change, you want to run through the 5 why and 1 H on why do you want to change, right? What is it you want to change? Why do you want to change? How do you plan to change it? And where do you think the change may have challenges? And who are the people that's going to help you change? And by when do you think this change is going to happen? If you can run through these 6 steps comfortably with all the answers, then by all means, recommend the change and make the necessary change for the better. So that's pretty much the end of my sharing. I will open the floor for questions.
Okay. Thank you, Kim. It's always very interesting. And please um, just join to the conversation. Yes.
Say hi.
This is Joey. Sorry, I should put on my video.
Hi, Joey.
Hi, thank you for your sharing. It's very clear and inspiring.
Thank you.
So I really like framework that you have provided, and then your last template, I think is really good. So, but one question that I have is, sometimes, we are so clouded, with things that has surfaced, So, do you have any strategies, that we can help to sort of declutter, because I may put in the box that things that I think I'm in control, but actually it could be something that I'm actually have no control. And then I try to put in more, to overcome the challenge. And then I find that I just get totally worn out, and so how can we be more aware to pull ourselves out, or to, so to have the awareness that you mentioned.
Exactly. Exactly. That was exactly what you said. Awareness. How aware are you about the situation? Because if you're telling me that, you think you have control, but in actually the effort that you put in, and just start to realize that you don't really have full control. So that means that the reality is not there. Right? What is in your mind and what is real? In your mind, you felt that, okay, this is the change I want. This is something that I think can be done. You put in all the effort that you can. But then at the end of the day, you realize that the final say belongs to someone else. You don't really have that final control, right? So it's again, boils down to the last thing I said earlier on, pick your battle, right? In a work environment, a lot of time, often than not, it's not life and death, right? It's not life and death. So you have to pick the battle that it's easier to win. Maybe that's why I want you to go through the exercise. Just now we talk about, I gave you that 6 steps, right? That framework. If you take that framework, you tell yourself, this is the change that is happening, and this is what I want to do. Then go through that framework and ask yourself, why is it you want to change, right? Who is actually backing you up? Is this just you? It's the me, I, myself kind of thing that you're fighting and challenging. So if you have clarity on that, you will start to realize that it is a battle that you don't need to win. Hence, I ask you to ask yourself, are you in control? Do you have some control? If you don't have any control whatsoever at the end result or decision, then why are you fighting a battle? Now, often, we have a tendency to do that. We pick on a lot of projects and we want to win, right? We want, it's just human nature. We want to be able to show result. We want to be able to prove ourselves. But there are times where you don't have the platform, right? The platform is not yours. It's somebody else. Then learn to let it go. Walk away. Pick a battle that you can fight. Pick a battle that you have control or some kind of control. That means your involvement, that you have some influence to make a difference. If you try it 1, 2, 3 times, it's like, what's the point? I'm not telling you to give up. I'm telling you to have clarity and transparency on your own wants. So when you have clarity on the awareness, you will know whether it is a battle worth fighting. If it's a project that worth pursuing. I hope that answers your questions.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Faith?
This is Faith. Yeah.
Hi, Faith.
I hope you can all hear me.
I can hear you, Faith.
I'm from Uganda. Yes,
Uganda?
This is Faith from Uganda. Yes.
Oh.
I'm excited to be here. My question would be on leadership styles. I got in a bit late, but as women, when women lead in spaces, there's a challenge. Whether you're going to lead by influence, can we lead through influencing people, or should we influence with decisiveness, authority? Because especially where I'm coming from, it's more of a male-dominated kind of environment.
Right.
So if you're going to exercise your authority or make sure that certain things get done in the workplace, sometimes you have to assert yourself. But in listening to you, you also talked about picking your battles wisely. So there's that thin line between asserting yourself without making it look like you're raising conflict or stepping on people's toes. So how can you live?
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. That's a very good question. And I'm sure many of us here have experienced that, right? Okay, I get asked one question very often. Hey, when you make decision as a leader, do you think like a woman or like a man? Okay, first thing I say, what has that got to do with gender? A business decision is a business decision, regardless of whether I wear pants or I wear skirts, right? So when we talk about, when a woman become a little bit more assertive, more authoritative, they call us bossy. When a man does that, oh, very good leader, he's powerful, he's leading correctly. So the question is what? As a women leader myself, I too work in a very male-dominated industry with construction sites and all. The important thing is, what do you know, right? The important thing is interpersonal, the relationship that you have to have. If you build relationship first, you do not need to use your power to get things done, right? Whether it's male or female. Being an Asian and a woman, I work with an organization where I was the only woman running a region out of 12 regions, right? All of them are guys. But I never look at it as if whether I'm a woman or not. The key important thing is that you need to speak up. Speaking up doesn't mean being too aggressive. Doesn't have to be like you have to have that power, the voice, and not necessarily, you don't have to be aggressive at all. The important thing is your knowledge. Do you know what you do, right? First thing important, right? You got a job, right? Do you know what you do? If you know, then our focus is basically on very objectively on the business. I share about the 5 levels of leadership by John Maxwell. Some of you may have heard about it. Some of you may have not. Let me give you an example of faith. Level 1 is when, say, all of us as women, we got to a position because we have done very well, we deserve, we got a promotion, we are there. People follow you because they recognize your title, right? You're the boss now. Level 2 is when people follow you because they start to like you. So interpersonal skill, building rapport, right? At all levels. When you take a new job, that's what you need to do first. And level 3, people start to follow you because you start to show results. That means your performance. That means you're walking the talk, why the company hire you in the first place. Level 4 is where people follow you because what you have done for them. That means you have been leading them, guiding them, helping them. When you have all this in place, you do not need a loud voice or the overly powerful personality to be able to get the boys to listen to you. When I was running Asia Pacific, we used to worry. The perception is that, oh, I'm an Asian, I'm a woman, and how are you going to manage foreigners to be my subordinate? I have Italian, French, German, all guys, right? I've got probably 6, 7 different nationality, all male working, reporting to me. But I have never once had to insert my power as a woman leader, right? Because how? I start by getting them to like me. I got a job, I got hired from external, I came in, I work with everybody. I get to know. So in your particular case, right, when you're facing things like that, start to build the relationship first before trying to insert your power. Because when you have relationship, when people know that you are there for the company and for the business and for the people, they will respect you as a women leader without you telling them you are the boss. And you don't even have to insert that, overly powerful personality to be able to stand out. Like stay professional. Stay professional. And one thing that we women, is one advice I want to give, whenever you face a challenge, take emotion out of it. We are very good of getting affected emotionally. And that's the way we are. That's the way we are born. We are women. That's the way we are. Remove emotion out of a work situation, and then you can look at it more objectively. It is when we start to feel emotional, we start to behave, and our decision making will affect us in a very, very big way. It's how people see us as well. Because you don't have to tell them that I'm a woman leader, not necessary. I'm just someone doing my job at a high level. Right, Faith? Anybody else have questions?
Thank you very much, Kim.
no time.
We are running out of time now,
Yeah.
but as always, is very interesting, your conferences. And I would like to engage you for the third part of this webinar. And I
Sure.
encourage our members to watch the first video. I don't know how many of you
Mhm.
been in the first webinar, and but I think that we need much more of this kind of training, because sometimes, in fact, we have all the knowledge and the skills, but we don't know how to use it.
Right.
And in BPW, especially, we really need that uh, to learn how to raise our voice, how to work as a team, which is always a little difficult, even not uh, another environment, but in between women, it's sometimes a very difficult task to make a team and work together, because especially, as I said, in BPW, because we are all leaders.
Yeah.
So follow a president of a club or a federation or whatever is sometimes is challenging. And I appreciate a lot your participation, as well as all our attendees. Thank you, thank you, thank you very
Thank you
much.
all. Thank you all for
Thank you
making
all.
time for this. Yeah.
And please promote the YouTube channel. There is all the webinars. I think that now we have 45 webinars. And we start before the pandemic, exactly as Kim says, that we have this uh, desire to do something. So we take action,
Yes.
starting the webinars. If we find out that it was the need that our members are more trained in different aspects, so then what we can do, well, let's start this webinar. And thanks to Anne that it's always willing to help everybody. And these webinars make being a reality now. So thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you all.
Stay safe and be happy.